G'day, I'm Doug from Shaving Down Under. Today's Wednesday. It also happens to be Remembrance Day, and that was commemorates or just recognises the ending of World War II and the sacrifices that all service men at the time did, nurses who were there in droves, the sacrifice and that they went through, and obviously also to the service animals. There were plenty that were used: horses, donkeys, dogs, pigeons, all sorts. So I don't think it's recognised in America the day. I'm not sure, I could be wrong. Definitely through the Commonwealth countries, and I would say through Europe as well. So the Remembrance Day is the 11th day, the 11th month, and 11th hour, and that's when the gun stopped, and that was it. And some sort of normality returned to the world, and especially Europe, and mainland Europe indeed. So I'm going to just commemorate this day with a shave. We're going to be using the Spitfire shave soap from Phoenix Beau. This is just, I'm sure some of you out there watching know about this soap. This is just 100% classic soap. The soap was made in memory of the grandfather of the people who made it, who served in World War II, and the memories, the scent memories they had when they were young. So this is inside, this is the soap. A real leather and tobacco scent. It's just a classic masculine scent. And if you're into that type of scent and you don't own this, you've got to own it. You'll love it. We're teeing that up with a shave lotion from Phoenix Beau. And we're also going to shave with this Gillette. So I'll open it up. So I'll just make sure nothing falls out, so pardon the fingers there. So this is from around World War I era, except for the mirror. There wasn't a mirror with this, and one of these came on the market, and I believe this is a mirror that was around, there I am again, around the World War II era release. So that's what it looks like inside. I believe everything in the case is period correct. Some beautiful condition, except for a bit of spotting on there. But if you've been on eBay and you've seen these, this case is in pretty bloody good condition. So I will be shaving with that today. See if there's any blades in the case. Yeah, there are. There's really old Gillette, which could be period correct, as the Gillette heads out there would be much more familiar with that. And obviously this isn't period correct. The Gillette fin, I think they're around 1940s, 50s. So I'm going to team it up. Get another shave out of this old Gillette Aristocrat even. There it is there, beautiful. So I believe these were issued to American soldiers. Just move this out the way. I'm not sure what Australian soldiers were issued with, and I'm not even sure if Gillette was in the country at the time in Australia. I know early on the back of cases, the registration of each country, the trademark of each country, Australia isn't on the back of them until a bit later down the track. But so I'm not sure what Australian soldiers used to shave with. But I do have this boy here, and this was bought from an auction down the southeast of South Australia. And at the sale, it was mentioned that the original owner of this took it with him to World War One. So it's a nice little straight razor, a Bengal. Maybe one day I'll grow a set and then have a shave with it. But I'd imagine this is probably what a lot of Australian soldiers, something similar to this, would have been shaving with in World War One when they got the chance to shave. Okay, let's see. Let's go with the Drake again. So there you go. It's leathered up beautifully. So I don't know about anywhere else around the globe for Remembrance Day, but I can tell you that every war memorial in each city, town, suburb, country town, behind the black stump, if there's a war memorial there, there will be people there just remembering the sacrifices of returned soldiers and the end of World War One. If you've done any reading about World War One, you know it was a absolutely brutal war. But it was also a war that pushed forward technology in a big way. Okay, so I wonder who owned this. You know, did they actually serve? Were they someone who came along after the war ended? Who knows? But it's just an interesting thought. The history of this, it's at least 100 years old, isn't it? It's 100 years old, just over. It's got a fair bit of history behind it, and to be in such good condition. Someone's either taken the time to care for it over the decades, or maybe it just got buried somewhere. But either way, it's in very good condition. I feel very lucky for actually being able to win the auction to buy this. Very lucky. So I've read some interesting books over the years. I think one of the first real interesting World War One book I read was, from memory, The Roses of No Man's Land. And that was a book all about nurses in World War One. Some years ago now since I read it. Maybe over 20 years ago. It was a really interesting book. You know, the things that the nurses went through and caring for young and old men who were wounded in battle or were dying in the field hospitals and the hospitals behind the lines, and just comforting them through. This has got a fair bit of blade on it. It's a little bit more aggressive than my other ball type handle. Interesting. And they talk about it's not even plastic surgery. Like soldiers with severely wounded, with severe wounds to the face, disfigurement to the face, and the prosthetics that some doctors were coming up with helped the poor men look semi-normal. So it was the very early days of the forerunner of plastic surgery. I think World War One was brought on the invention of penicillin from memory. Oh, it just would have been brutal. There was whole new technologies, gas warfare come into play, I think, for the first time. New rules of engagement were made. A couple of little bites there from the blade. Oh, this soap smells so good, real medium strength soap. Just lathering it onto my face and you can just smell it. Not overpowering, it's just real complementary strength. Look at the lather on it, it's just amazing. Another book I read about World War One was about pilots. And that was shocking. The pioneering days of flight, especially warfare flight, it will stun you. It was an acknowledged fact that when a young man joined up to be a pilot in World War One, he had a lifespan of 2 weeks. And it was only just the very lucky that went further than 2 weeks, and even luckier to survive. A lot of blokes died trying to take off for the first time in flight training. And if they survived taking off, they died landing. And it, from memory from the book, seemed like you just had like about a week or so training, and then you were flying in warfare. In planes that were still close to experimental. So the thing about when World War One started, planes were obviously underway, and we look back now with hindsight and can see the benefits of planes. And at the time, some people in the military and outside of it had the foresight, but there was still a really stubborn resistance to the use of planes. So they were first used for reconnaissance. Is that the right? I can't pronounce it, but you know what I'm talking about. And the generals at the time, and I think this is on both sides of the fence, believed that, you know, reconnaissance, as soon as you hit a word and you struggle with it, you're stuck, was best done on a horse, on horseback. They couldn't grasp that what you could see from the air. So they finally agreed, and so guys were going up, and these were guys that were the new wave of pilots before the war. So they were going up, looking around over enemy positions and flying back, reporting what they're seeing. Might just update on the chin there. So the early reconnaissance missions, pilots from both sides were up in the air and they were seeing each other, smiling and waving at each other. The planes had no guns on them at all. They weren't carrying guns of any sort, just maybe cameras or pen and paper. I'll just give me a chance to do this. Beautiful. So, you know what generals are like, especially those old school ones, maybe not today, but there's no way you're going to have any friendly banter with the enemy anywhere, even in the sky. So they started issuing the pilots small hand bombs that they would drop from the cockpit. and they armed them with handguns. So they're up in the sky shooting handguns at each other. And I don't even think there's a recorded death from handgun up in the sky. I could be wrong, but from memory, from what I read, it was almost useless. And then obviously planes evolved again and machine guns were added, and the Germans leapfrogged the British in that technology and even their planes, and it wasn't until later on in the war that they caught up. Another interesting fact that I had trouble getting my head around was, just about every pilot that you enlisted was dead in 2 weeks. So people outside of the military industry started developing the first parachutes. And the military resisted every attempt to sell them parachutes. So World War I ended, and for the last maybe year or so, they could have equipped pilots with really basic parachutes, and they refused to do it. So whether it was a monetary thing, whether they didn't want to spend money, they were tight for it, or they wanted to put all the money elsewhere, but it just was mind-boggling that they were just sacrificing very, very brave men flying and just letting them die after 2 weeks. There would have been so much flying talent wasted, and which could have been, they could have been saved. They might have had the ability to jump and pull a ripcord and float safely down to earth and hopefully be free of injury or just minor injuries, where they could at least come back and help train. So yeah, I always found that amazing. Okay, that was a really nice shave. Really nice. This is a really good razor. It's more aggressive. Just wipe the water off the top there. More aggressive than my gold or brass ball end, which surprised me a lot. Excellent for shaving under your nose. Absolutely, it's the easiest shave. If you can get hold of one of these, do it. You can get them, and if you look around and just wait, you can pick these up around in really good condition, probably around $50-$60 US. Maybe if you're in Aussie, around 80 Aussie dollars. And they're worthwhile. They're worthwhile picking one up and just have a shave with it. Okay, so we'll just quickly scent notes. So in the soap, it's a top layer of juniper, bergamot and cedarwood, and then laid onto a base of leather and rich tobacco, which is the scent. The leather and rich tobacco is definitely there. My nose is probably not the greatest to pick up the slighter hints of the others. This here is alcohol free. It's aloe vera, witch hazel, which is classic in aftershaves. cacao oil, willow bark extract, and meadow foam seed oil, which I have no idea about. So you don't need a lot of this stuff. That's about it.
Hi, bye.
Howdy. And a real leather finish on the scent. Beautiful. Anyway, we'll wrap this one up. Thanks for sticking around. So we dedicate this to all the return service men and women, whether they the women served or nurses. Definitely for all the animals that were used and died in combat. It wouldn't have been something that they would have wanted to be there doing. I think there's even a classic story of a carrier pigeon that raced back with an important message that got shot up, but still arrived to deliver the message. So 11 o'clock, take a minute out, minute silence. Okay, ciao.